Well, hello, my YouTube friends. It's been over a month since I acquired that magnificent knife from the NYLUND Brothers, at the Paris Blade Show, and for some odd reason, it's not online yet. I haven't done a video yet, but the reasons are odd, but I can explain. Not that you have asked, or it's warranted, but something really strange happened with that knife. Every time I tried to make the review, either I forgot to put the flight mode on the phone and it was ringing, or my door was also ringing, the doorman, I don't know, the postman coming, my daughter, my wife. I mean, I've tried probably 6 or 7 takes, and it never went to the end. And you know me, I want to make like one shot of a video, and then after that, boom, I post it online, and I couldn't do it. I mean, it's like probably my 8th take on this one. So it doesn't even look like natural anymore. I hope that I will get to the end of this video in the same fashion as usual. We'll see about that. But trust me on that one, if the door is ringing or something happening other than an earthquake or something that would really need me to stop that video like right now, I will do a 2-take video. What the hell with it, 2-part video. Doorman, you can come. Post, you can come. I will stop and do a 2-take video. But I hope that I will be able to go through the end of this one and be able to post that video. So what do we have here after those unwarranted rants? This knife is absolutely sublime, and you could have put, you set the mute mode and just appreciate the marvel that I have in my hands from the NYLUND Brothers. Those two guys live in an godforsaken country in Northern Europe, Finland, and it's so cold there probably that it comes in handy for them to do some heat treating, some forage. Maybe it comes in handy when you live in those places, because two youngsters like that making everything on a knife, because that's what they do. They do absolutely everything on a knife. It's odd, but it's brilliant. I mean, I love those guys. They're so cute and kind and talented. It's insane. First and foremost, yeah, I've mentioned it, but just realize that they do everything. They do that beautiful. Those beautiful design. They do their own material, the forge, their mechanics. It's, I mean, a true custom knife made by two gentlemen that look like two little youngsters. It's impressive. They've been started making knives, I think, like fixed blades, maybe a little less than 10 years ago, when they were teenagers, like literally teenagers, but maybe less. I don't know. I can't really remember. They are extremely precise in their work, and we're going to review that. Every maker, this is something that I like. When the fame that you have comes from collectors, it's something, okay? But when you have makers claiming that your work is impeccable, and speaking highly of you, looking up at you, it's something that means something else, because there are some stuff that we see as collector and we can appreciate on knives, but there are others that a maker will see and that the eye of the collector couldn't grab. And I'm gonna tell you a little bit about those actually when I'm going to do the review, because I had the pleasure to have Dalibor with me, Dalibor Bergen, the knife maker and my friend, during the show. And the things he mentioned about this knife, the things they appreciated, are not the one that popped to me first. This is where you realize that when you're appreciated by collectors and makers, it's probably for very, very good reason. The one and the main being that you are a great maker. That's incredible. Okay, so those guys have it all. They are young, they're kind, they do great design, they do great mechanics. I mean, the mechanic on this one, it's so smooth. It's a lockback, but listen, I can operate it with one hand like that, and it's no noise. It's smooth. You can deploy it so nicely like that. Oh man, I love it. The mechanics are insane. The tolerances are insane. Everything is perfect from the forge to the design to the realization of the knife to the build. Just absolutely perfect. So now let's start the review. When it's not natural like that, I'm even more losing my mind when I do the review. So now let's try to get some sense out of it and start the review with the handle. So what do we have here? As I say, they do their own material. Check that pivot. So what I like about that pivot, it's just flush. Beautiful and very nice with their own material. I'm going to talk about the material while getting to the blade. But you see, this is one of the differences that you can have with the maker and the collector. Dalibor was more impressed here by the pivot. Actually, it was the first thing that popped to him when he saw the knife was the pivot, but not because it's beautiful, flush like that, but because of the screws. Because it's really tedious for him, and he explained me that to me, to get those tiny screws. You can go with 2 screws, you can go with the hidden hardware. It would be way, way, way easier than to put and to drill those mini screws like that. So this is something, that as a collector we cannot really appreciate. So very nice pivot for both those reasons. The frame that we have here is zirconium, and it's done in a way, man, the deepness of this black is beautiful, beautiful, absolutely exquisite. The junction that you have, it's almost like it's just one piece here, as if it was some drawing inside. I don't know. You cannot tell that there is a junction between this inlay, beautiful inlay of senmai. I'm going to talk about the senmai again. Absolutely flawless junctions. But what's even more impressive, here you have a groove, and you still have the flawless junctions with the senmai. Absolutely phenomenal work. Phenomenal. Check that. Gorgeous, gorgeous. So beautiful work. Build here. Then you have the design. The overall design. Check that. Just look at it. First of all, it's sexy as hell. Absolutely sexy. And they worked with the volume because you have some. That's the problem, with a folder. With a folder, you have to get a handle that's going to be bigger than the blade, which is something that is not restricted with a fixed blade. This is why you can have more balanced blade knives, because what you need is just something that you can hold, in your hand. But if you want to have a bigger blade, that's not something you can have with the folder, whereas you can have it with the fixed blade. And it would be more, appropriate to get a knife with a regular side handle and a blade that would be, more consistent. On the folder, you cannot. You just have to have a blade that's going to be smaller and thinner and everything compared to the handle. So it can create some discrepancies, and I like when those discrepancies, the blade handle ratio is even. On this one, it's even more complicated because you have the lockback. So they work with the volumes, boom. They removed some of the volumes here with the groove here, the groove on this side, this aspect here of the knife going here. This way you can have the spring of the log back, and otherwise the knife should be that width, that wide here. But here it's taper, it's thin here and thin on those sides, and the milling makes it for an appearance in the design that is just like even. It looks like a fixed blade. Honestly, it's just fantastic. Something that I truly appreciate about that knife is that. Then after that, they did a work that is difficult for you to appreciate, but look at that. I'm going to, this is something that I noticed because I look at the knife like that and say, oh man, you see the file work here of the liners. You see? And you see it here. Most of the time, it's going to be even with the frame. So in order to see it, you would have to just look at it on this side and see the liner or see the backspacer. On this one, you see both the liner and you see here, I'm touching it, you see also the backspacer popping there. This is something tremendously difficult to do. Why? Because when it's even with the scale, and this is something, a remark that the maker, this comes from Dalibor. Doesn't come from me. So in order for the backspacer to be like that, you would have to work your scale and the liner and the backspacer in a separate way, one after the other. And then after that, getting to have exactly the same amount of material popping there. Why? Because you cannot work it when it's inserted. Whereas when it's even with the scale, what you do is just boom, you just put it on the machine like that, and it's even. Here you have to work it separately. So in order to have just that appearance that is really subtle, it's very subtle, you cannot even appreciate it. If I don't tell you, maybe you would miss it. In order to have that, it creates a tremendous amount of work, and this is where, on those details, you can see, here the backspacer is convex. I'm going to try to come, I'm in the profile, I'm looking on the side. You see the backspacer here convex, and you see the liner. Now you can appreciate it, and now you can understand that this is a tremendous work from those guys. That detail, the groove here, something you cannot really appreciate how exquisite, extraordinary is their build. Now let's go with that blade. Oh, and yeah, the liner here, you see the file, but it goes on every, you follow the liner here, and it's here also. Something I appreciate, they did some kind of stippling here on the liner too, you see, whereas here it's mirrored, it's polished. The name is in the inside of the, you cannot see it, it's on the inside, okay, good. And you have also this kind of grip that brings you on the lockback here, that is very nice. It brings some grip, and again, you can operate it with one hand, as I told you here. Now, check the tolerances. The tolerances are insane. Wait a minute. Check that. I'm going to shut my mouth for a second. Check those tolerances. You cannot put even a piece of paper in between the liners and the blade. It's exceptional, and it's smooth. The build is insane. You have no play on this position. No lateral play when it's locked, it's locked for good, believe me. No lateral play, nothing on this position. You don't have any play on this position, no play. Exceptional. Now, it's 12 minutes, so we need to talk about this blade. Check that marvel. First of all, sexy as hell. Love the grind on this one. Beautiful plunge line here. Very, very nice half swedge. Here the groove that can bring, because again, it's a lockback, so most of the time it's a knife that you operate with two hands. But here the grooves is not only sexy, but it provides a way to deploy the blade with your thumb. Absolutely gorgeous design overall, but this blade is just sexy as hell. Now check this NYLUND. As I told you, they do the forge, they do everything. It's insane. And to get those blues here and these bronze, because I'm not even sure that you can see, but here, of course, you can see it's bronze. This is alchemy, my friend. They used a kind of recipe, and they had to try several recipes actually in order to get both the core bronze and the blue finishing here. Because if you don't have the right amount, they needed to add some carbon carbon powder in their Damascus in order to get the color. But if you don't have it, you can have both ways. If it's either one would be like satin, the other one would be blue, or this one bronze, but this one not really blue. It's alchemy. Those guys are insane. They spent so many time to get the right recipe to get these beautiful blues, and here the bronze. Now check the centering here. Ah, man. Some guys, the forge here is something that they do on the side. It's you have the build, you have the forge, you have everything, the mechanics, the work of inlay and everything. So that is something that they do on the side, and yet they are able to come with a centering that is perfect, which should be really an incentive for those guys who do only Senmai and manage to fuck the centering, not naming anyone. Okay, now. We are heading to the 15 minutes. I couldn't express my for those guys. I haven't been interrupted, so I guess that this one will go online. Everything is absolutely perfect. Everything. From the start, this is how I started with that. Makers like Anthony Marfion, like Jens Enzo, like a lot of guys, they just say that this knife was the knife of the show there. And it speaks volumes when you have makers speaking so high of other makers like that. So it's not even coming just from me. Everyone will agree on the fact that those guys are tremendous makers, really kind person. If you get a chance to have one of those knives, just run. And that would be it for the day. I'll catch you very soon, hopefully for another video. Bye bye, my friends. It was a pleasure.